We're pleased to be with you today in Holly Springs, North Carolina at the opening of the FUJIFILM Biotechnologies unbelievable facility. It's just fabulous. I mean, really, why don't we do some introductions and let you, each of you introduce yourselves and your name and your company and something, and we'll go from there.
So Lars Petersen, President and CEO of FUJIFILM Biotechnologies.
So I'm Leila Schwery, and I lead the manufacturing and technical operations for Johnson & Johnson Innovative Medicines.
I'm Bob Pragada. I'm the chair and CEO of Jacobs, and we were very, very fortunate to be a partner on this facility.
Dan Van Plew with Regeneron Pharmaceuticals. I head up all of our supply chain, production, quality, QC, all of that. And I feel bad because you said they're the diehards and they're stuck with people like me. So, just putting that out there.
What does the site represent for FUJIFILM Biotechnologies and the industry at large? What do you think?
I think this site is absolutely the pride of what we are doing as a network. Of course, we talked a lot about this being a replicate of our Danish facilities, so we actually prefer to talk about these two facilities as one. But it's absolutely, you can say, the data point of realizing our Co2X network. We knew we were building a network, so now we can actually implement and talk to our partners, new partners, old partners, that this is a transformative way of making medicine.
Yeah. J&J is committed to solving some of the world's most pressing diseases. You told me you guys are working on 70 products, which is amazing. What role do collaborations like this one play in growing your portfolio?
Yes. So first of all, let me start by saying how excited we are about this partnership with FUJIFILM, and it's a real privilege to be here today, and we have a few J&J colleagues also here part of the ceremony. We feel incredibly privileged. And at J&J, for us, everything starts with the patients. Our R&D efforts are focused on oncology, immunology, neuroscience, many disease area where we still see high unmet patient needs. And Doug, you mentioned it, we have an amazing portfolio ahead of us. 70 new innovations for our patients by 2030. I mean, think about it, 70 by the end of this decade. New therapies coming to patients. So the beauty, and I think we heard it from you as well, Lars, today, and from Toshi, we don't only supply medicines, we also supply hope to millions of patients around the world who are still waiting for a medicine or for a cure. And I know there's a lot of supply chain professionals in the room, and I think it's fair to say that the role of supply chain and manufacturing has really changed significantly over the past 10 years even. Manufacturing this very innovative portfolio is not easy. And our role in manufacturing is no longer just about manufacturing medicines. It's about making medicines possible by manufacturing these products with the right quality and the right reliability. So that partnership with FUJIFILM will also expand our US manufacturing footprint. It's also very much on the how we do business together. And having partners that have these same standards and they target the highest standard of excellence and quality is incredibly important to us.
How does expanded CDMO capacity help ensure patients get access to new therapies faster and more reliably?
Yeah, so a lot of answers, a lot of thoughts on that. I'll go as brief as I can. The first thing I'd say, the industry as a whole, I think there's a shortage of capacity in the US. And J&J talking about Wilson investment, you have this site here, of course. We're in the process of doing major investments in New York and increasing capacity in New York. So first and foremost, having access to that capacity is a big part of the solution, because you have obviously a lot of innovation. I would say the majority of the innovation in this space comes from the United States, and having the ability to connect with operations in the US matters. The way you connect, I think, matters based on the size and nature of the company. These plants, as you can see, they're large, they're expensive, there are significant efforts within engineering and other parts of this space to try to emulate biology. So you're trying to take steel and cause it to act like an organism to allow the cells to grow and do what they need to do to make the medicines, which translates into complexity. So large, expensive, very complex operations. If you're a small company, that's a pretty big endeavor to get into. And so the ability to access that capacity in a timely manner and in a way where you can get your innovations out as quickly as possible, huge for that population. I'm a big believer you should focus on what you're good at. We're exceptionally good at taking molecules, doing the transfer, scaling them up, getting into a point where you can get the early launch and the early presence on market. But I don't want to be good much beyond that. And so for the back end of it, I want a company like a Fuji that can pick up that part of my business and allow me to focus on what I'm good at. The access to the capacity, there's so many variables at play there, and they play out differently company over company. But as I've described, even with those few examples, that's how you get beyond some of those problems, right? That access to capacity allows you to solve really, in a lot of ways, kind of the core of the innovation. It unlocks the ability to innovate. If you can't make it, it's useless, right?
Talk to us about the design and build story of the FUJIFILM Biotechnologies building here in Holly Springs, the largest of its kind in North America.
It is. It is one. I think all the words that my colleagues here have already said. The level of complexity, the level of scale, the level of innovation that's going into the science of what goes on in these facilities is really, really high. Something that at Jacobs, in fact, Dr. Jacobs, the backstory is that 77 years ago, he founded the company of one. He was actually a Merck employee. And so life sciences has kind of been in our blood for almost 80 years. And so that level of complexity over the years, we've been able to innovate in delivery. And so when Lars talks about modularity and flexibility and agility in the facility, that starts with the design and then flows all the way through construction.
I was trying in my head to prepare for discussion around this topic. I think I've been involved in 25 greenfields in my career. Maybe sometimes in the beginning, sometimes in the end, very rarely the entirety of it. And if you look at our industry, I used to work for the company that invented biotech industry, or the technology behind it, right? If you go to that facility today, the 12, maybe sometimes 13 manufacturing steps of unit operations are exactly the same that we have out here, even though it's 40 years ago. But companies redesign this every time they build a facility. We have in this industry, and this is blame on us, 30 big pharma companies, all of them in here, and I've been working for 5 of them in my career, all try to make the standards for them, not as an industry. Other industries, if you go to semiconductor industry or the automotive industry, they've come together and created much more alignment. If you want to make a chip today, the specifications of how the machines are made are to the details used by every company. In our industry, it's a little, new company, a little bit different. The medicine is very, very much the same. So when we found out, and we've done about, 150 assessments or programs for a facility like this, and we find that 90% is the same, then you have the foundation there. That is why COJO-X is so important. That we then have a dream of taking that to an ecosystem level, to work with our partners that what they build similar to what we built, like Wilson or even Cork facility, we also have similarities to it. It's just creating something that I think will transform the entire industry. We just happen to call that COJO-X.
And Lars, I just want to add on this one, because the COJO-X model, when we spoke about it, is actually from an engineering point of view. We're both engineers, so passionate about it. Probably all of us are engineers. Is a masterpiece of art. Is a truly masterpiece of art and very unique. So having the vision is something, but being able to build it and bring it to life like it's happening today is absolutely extraordinary. So congratulations again on that.
With Fujifilm, the model is much more, as Lars said, we're part of the same network. And so, for all intents and purposes, I do think of it at least the suite that we have as an extension of my operations, and it goes both ways. So if I have a problem, it's easier for me to schedule a change. If I have something in my pipeline that shifts, and what that means is your production schedules, the way you think about what has to move where, shifts pretty dramatically, because with all that early pipeline and with drugs that are still forming their markets, there's a lot of uncertainty. And so the ability to manage that uncertainty is just kind of core to my business. The deal that we have with Fuji, the way it's structured, I'm able to have greater certainty in the access to capacity, greater certainty in terms of the ability to adjust to changes, and I have something that allows me to adapt and ebb and flow as my pipeline and my demands change.
We are part of this vibrant, innovative ecosystem in the US. And I think with the momentum that we're seeing here, and we've been all talking about it, we have the potential to transform lives in ways we never thought were really possible. But as Bob mentions, it takes a village. I think it takes all of us, industry, government, academia, to stay ahead in the forefront of innovation.
Lori, Lars have all been just fabulous to interact with. And that matters because, no offense, you can build a plant, that part's, it is engineering. You can design a reactor, you can build the reactor and put it in. That's engineering. What you can't design and build are the relationships, the culture, the way that the people interact with each other, and it permeates everything. It permeates the types of jobs that you think of creating. You know, we've talked about that a little bit. It permeates the skill sets that you focus on. It permeates the way you manage the business, interact with each other, create a sense of what's acceptable, not acceptable. That's the hard part. That hope aspect is so incredibly powerful, and it plays such a huge role. There are treatments that will never make it to market that people are reading about online, and just the hope that it could come sustains them until the next treatment might come up. And so that aspect is huge. The trust aspect, though, hits on a different dynamic, which is the promise that you're going to get a safe, reliable medicine to somebody. And if you break that promise, it destroys the hope, right? These things are very closely interlinked. And so if you're going to get into a relationship with somebody that is going to be integral to your business, and I talked earlier about how I'm relying on FUJIFILM to help manage the back side of the process for me in the production, that's a huge responsibility, because the work that I give to Lars and his team is going to be work that's already associated with things that are mostly on the market. And so that promise aspect is particularly large in this relationship. The reality is firm handshakes are still the core. And it's still a firm handshake when you hand something off, when someone signs a release document and they say a product is safe to go. That's not something that AI is going to do for you. And it absolutely is based on human interaction and belief in what's happening around you. So this notion of trust with a partner it's absolutely the keystone, if you will, in terms of this type of relationship, because of the importance of the drugs and the hope and the promise that we're going to deliver them the right way, right? Those are two really important words. People like me and the others here, that's why you do this work.
Yep.
I mean, you come into it, and every day, you know, every decision I make, every investment that we get into, every big problem that's brought to me, the conversation is never focused on, oh, what's this going to look like with the P&L? It always starts out with, you know, who am I helping here?
Yeah.
What's going to happen that is ensuring that someone doesn't get harmed? You know, this isn't about customers. You're making stuff for moms, dads, sisters, brothers. And if you can maintain that point of calibration, a lot of the answers to a lot of these questions are answered if all you have to do is consider it from that perspective.
Yep.
And it becomes very obvious why you're doing what you're doing.
Yep.
You know, Doug, it was, yes, were there challenges? There were plenty, and sometimes in waves of challenges. Without describing each individual one, maybe just liberally, you know, plagiarizing what Dan said, we got through all of them through the power of trust, through the power of relationship, through the power of, hey, these are complicated issues that we're dealing with in the field, but we're going to get through it because both Fujifilm and Jacobs were looking at it from an outcome standpoint. You know, an outcome of where are we going, and then together we're going to get there.
Remember the latter part of the discussion here about trust. You really have to get that people thing go hand in hand.
Yes.
And that's why we call it Partners for Life. Because no matter uncertainties, partners for life. It's not something I normally say, we don't write it too many places. We have to have it in our hearts, right?
I treat the operations here as an extension of my own, and I've told Lars treat mine as an extension of yours.
And we talk a lot in my leadership team and throughout the entire company, what kind of culture, it's something we cannot judge. What is it we're trying to do? And when you get in the door here, and I would say when you're going in the door of Christian's facility back in Denmark, it's the same feeling. We get it from all clients. You see it when you get to the reception. I've been, and everybody knows that, I've said, buy a barista out here, it matters a lot. It's small money, buy it. It matters a lot. People immediately know what kind of thing we take care of people, and then people love to come here. Laurie would, I don't know if she's out there, but she talks about how that attraction point is so important. That excites me. It excites me to see joy, to see people rally together around this culture the way they do. And of course I'm proud as being one of the first in this discussion and see this facility coming from the 30 people you heard, from now almost 700, and still you have an extremely strong founding entrepreneurial people first culture where people love to come to work. You cannot beat that anywhere from.